I'm a firm believer in if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but I should have known better. This engine's been sitting for a long time. From what I can tell, possibly up to 25 years, if not longer. Once we got this thing running, we got some fresh oil in it. Of course, now the rear main seal's leaking, so flywheel's coming off. And there's all of our oil to confirm that. Let's try to drive that wedge in there. That's the way to do it. Plastic style. So our flywheel shim's back online. Bye. Well, this gasket cinch is sort of dried out, but we'll see if anything happens out of it. A little bit of assembly lube. And deluxe flywheel seal installer. Come on. That is one brittle O-ring. Just like before, a little bit of assembly lube. And right where our main seal is going to ride, a little bit more oil, or assembly lube rather. And we can put this back on the engine. We already greased up our pilot bearing when we did the clutch last week. $30 foot-pounds. That feels pretty good. All right, you guys probably need to see this. Now it's time to finally pop these valve covers off and adjust the valves for the first time in God knows how long. I'm going to pull out the spark plug since I am going to be replacing those. That'll make the engine even easier to spin over without having to deal with any compression building. So, 4 spark plug wires. You guys hang out with somebody. Bosch Platinum W8 AP, Germany. I'd say they were running rich before. Wash the hands a little bit, even though I know they're going to be absolutely filthy. What the heck was that? Yeah, nothing immediately out of place. Looks relatively decent. Pull off our distributor cap so that we know when we're at number 1. We are at number 1 now. That appears to be top dead center. And looking into my spark plug, I would say that's correct. So that tells me this smaller of our 2 marks on our crank pulley, the smaller 2 lines, is top dead center. So now I can go through and adjust these 2 valves. Flathead 13. And because we still have aluminum push rods, we're going to adjust these to 6/1000 valve clearance, or valve lash. All right. That one's good. All right, now we'll rotate the engine. So this one's at top dead center. And because this crank pulley doesn't have a bottom dead center indicator, kind of do it by feel to the highest point. If you had a degree pulley with all the timing marks, or if your stock crank pulley has a bottom dead center indicator, it's a lot easier. This one doesn't, however, so having the spark plug out is handy. And we can put an extension, or otherwise something soft, hopefully. Wooden dowel would be perfect, but I don't have a small wooden dowel, so I'll use a small extension. That way I can feel and I can see when we're at true top dead center. Perfect. All right, now I'm going to clean that up, put on some new valve cover gaskets. Hopefully I've got valve cover gaskets back here. I should. Whew. That'll tell you that those valve covers were on dry. Just a thin coat of aviation sealant on the back side, but otherwise dry. All right, so 1 and 2 are done. Now we'll go over and do 3 and 4. All right, a little hand cleaner, a little bucket of water. That's better. All right. Now, I can put in some spark plugs. And since Bosch discontinues more parts every day, we've been using BR6HS NGK plugs. I do need to take the resistor caps off because these original style spark plug wires don't have the cap that'll accept them. So we'll pull those off. Anti-seize, and I want to check the gap. Looking for 24, good, 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 and good. All right, steel plug, aluminum head. Always use anti-seize. I don't care what kind of car you got. Always use anti-seize. My installer hose. Anti-seize. So now that our valves are adjusted and we've got new spark plugs in, I could just throw this in the car, but I'm going to still take the opportunity while it's out and on the stand. I'm going to swap out our 009 distributor for a vacuum advance module with an electronic ignition. Once that's done, I will get it running and timed on the engine stand. And after that, then it can go back in the car. And we can also make certain that our rear main seal is good to go with a little bit more run time. So I'm going to pop this out. I just did this a couple weeks ago on installing an SVA distributor video we did on that tan Super Beetle. So the process is going to be basically the same. I'm going to put the engine over to number 1, which is marked on here, pull out the distributor, put in our new distributor. I'm going to do all that right now. Our timing gear likes to sit that way. So straight across the case looking at different places and different sources, you'll see that placed different places, but again, to the best of my knowledge, this engine's never been out, so I'm going to guess that that timing gear's never been out, and that's where it's supposed to be. I've got a 0231-137-035 vacuum advanced distributor, and inside we've got an igniter 1847V module in here. The vacuum advance does work, however there is no centrifugal advance. This is a single vacuum, single advance distributor. Oh, I need to be able to move the rotor. That is roughly where it was before. Let's tighten that down a touch. This is number 1, dose. This is number coil. Number 3, number 4. Crimp on some terminal ends here. Nowhere near ideal, but they will do. Just standard crimp on terminal ends. I like the crimp and shrink terminal ends. They are a much more secure end. And I've already gone through and ohmed out our coil at 3 ohms. So it is compatible with our electronic ignition. Truth be told, this ignition came back as a return. Somebody said it didn't work. Well, I tested it on the bench anyway, and it did work. So I'm hoping that when I test it in the car, it will still work, or at least on the bench. All right, I'll get a vacuum hose from here to here and get that set up. All right, with that, provide power, some fuel, and some cranking power, I can run this guy again. So give me a second to set all that up. We're sitting at 7 degrees, initial timing. Vacuum is not hooked up. And again, I'm just going 7 degrees off that top dead center mark. I could bump it forward just about 8 to get at 7.5 factor, which I think I'm gonna do. Hold please, 8 degrees. Now, if I increase to 33, I feel safe with. Now that we're getting a little bit of vacuum, I'm gonna have to set you on the engine stand for this one. Hold on. 8 degrees initial. Vacuum hooked up. Low, so I'm going to bump that up on that screw right there. Idle speed's good. Now all right, who kills it there? Timing set, we're gonna lock that down. She sounds like a happy little engine. Ready for the road, which means she's ready to go in the car. Assuming the rear main seal isn't leaking. Let's take a look. Well, I didn't really clean it up any better than before, but all that run, and we don't have a single drop down there. So I'm gonna say we should be good to go. now, I'm just hooking up some ancillary wiring back in the back here. Gonna run our coil to carburetor, and then I'm gonna actually jump into this over to our reverse light. Hopefully that will be long enough. Maybe. Not the way it was done originally, but it will do. Since this carburetor doesn't have an idle solenoid, it's not going to need the jumper wire. For now it'll work, and that's not going to be the long-term solution. Real important, this wire is not fused. This straight comes battery, ignition switch, coil wire. This is plugged into the positive side of the coil. This does not get fused, so make sure this wire is safe and away from any possible way of shorting out. Coil wire and oil pressure wire. Alright, so I've got the rear engine to body seal in place, up underneath the lip on the tin all the way around. Barrel nuts hooked up here, heater cables are hooked up. I still need to get the heater box to car hoses and install those. Right now I'm going to put the base sails on and our fresh air heater hoses. Well, my phone's being stupid, so I'm going to call it a day until I can get some more memory cleared. Even though I've gone through and deleted like the last 3 days of videos, which I've already gone through and edited, my phone doesn't want to give me any more room. So, engine's in, fresh air hoses are in, rear engine seals in place. I've got to get a new engine roll for that. Other than that, everything in the engine compartment short of license lid, license light, is good to go. I'm going to make a longer wire here for this reverse light. Anyway, that does it for today. Tuesday, September 26th. Counting down the days, but we're getting closer. Later, guys.